Today's podcast is sponsored by NordVPN. Stick around to find out how you can go to nordvpn.com/letsread to get 70% off a 3-year plan and use code LETSREAD for an extra month for free.
I remember the first time I came across the term yandere. I remember exactly where I was, exactly what I was doing. It was on one of my visits to a seedier part of Reddit that I came across on R Forever Alone Dating, a post from a girl looking for an online companionship. She seemed charming, and the picture she attached proved she was very attractive. I remember how she asked respondents to put the words green bean in their message somewhere just to prove that they read the full post. I don't know, I thought that was cute, so maybe it wasn't the brightest thing I've ever done, but I fired over a message asking if she was interested in getting talking. We talked fairly anonymously at first, which I understood, as the internet can be a weird place sometimes. But the more we talked, the more candid our conversations were, and by the time we revealed to each other just exactly where we lived, we were shocked to find out we both lived in the Northeast. Not only that, but we were only 100 miles or so apart. It was round about then that she began to act a little reticent, being late to reply to messages, generally not seeming as enthusiastic as she has previously. I asked her if anything was wrong or if she wanted to talk about anything, and she replied that she did in fact have something on her mind. She went on to tell me that she was feeling a little anxious because she was starting to like me quite a bit. Honestly, I didn't quite understand what she meant. I was starting to like her a lot too, but I was just happy about it. There were no reservations. She explained when she really liked someone, she could get a little intense. That was the word she used, intense. When I said that didn't really bother me, she changed her choice of words, switching out intense for obsessive. She told me there was a Japanese term for girls like her, yandere. I didn't know a thing about Japanese culture. I didn't care about anime or anything like that, so I just figured she was just interested in the culture. I didn't stop to question exactly what the word meant. Now, any self-respecting guy would have walked away right then and there. But let's just say I've never been the most successful with girls, so when I heard obsessive, I just figured she'd be loyal and attentive. Sure, it might grate on me from time to time, but a girl that was obsessed with me would surely never cheat. That had happened to a friend, and it had a serious effect on his mental health and self-esteem. By the time we were organizing our first meetup, we were throwing around the idea of a long-distance relationship, reassuring ourselves that we could see each other on weekends, alternating between her traveling and me traveling. I was a little nervous as I packed up my things for the train ride out to a major city that was roughly halfway between us. Nervous, but excited. I never had a relationship with a girl that had been this consistent. We talked every day and she actually seemed to really like me. I just hoped the chemistry would be the same once we met in person, but to my relief, it was. She was an absolute dream to hang out with. All our little inside jokes and private thoughts hit their mark, just as I hoped they would. However, she did display some pretty unusual behavior. She seemed to find it difficult to maintain eye contact for any prolonged period. Also, when we went out to dinner on the first night, I was initially confused when she apparently refused to interact with anyone but me. When the waitress asked what she liked to drink, it's as if she just shut down, staring at the table or occasionally shooting me a look. I actually had to order for her the entire time. She'd tell me what she wanted, but then it'd be down to me to get the attention of a server to ask for that particular thing. I figured it was just because she was shy, which, I don't know, I just found extra cute. It wasn't until after an emotional goodbye that things started to get weird. We'd gotten into the habit of calling each other every night before sleep, but these calls started coming from her in the middle of the day at times when I was busy. But whenever I tried to explain that I couldn't talk, she'd always get really salty about it, becoming increasingly angry every time I told her I couldn't talk. I was heartbroken when she accused me of being unfaithful. The more I tried to explain that there was no one else but her, the more she accused me of lying. If there's no one else, why can't you take 10 minutes out of your busy day to talk to your girlfriend? She always was a smart girl. She ran rings around me when it came to arguing logic. The longer this went on, the more it grated on me, to the point where I just didn't like her anymore. She wasn't just intense or obsessive. She was dangerously paranoid and abusive when she wanted to be. I finally plucked up the courage to call her to break up. Needless to say, she did not take it well. I went no contact almost straight away, blocking her on social media to make the period of separation less hard on us both. It hurt, but I knew it was what she needed. There was no way she'd be able to detach herself from me if we kept trying to be just friends or whatever. A few months later, my parents are away on vacation without me. I didn't mind at all. It gave them some time to themselves while allowing me to live in a gigantic bachelor pad for a fortnight. It was all going fantastic until I awoke one night to find that someone had broken into the house. First thing I did was call 911 from my bedroom before venturing down the stairs with a baseball bat in hand. I had no idea what I was planning to do. Maybe just scare the burglar. But I was absolutely terrified as I crept down the stairs. I expected some huge crackhead or something, but instead of some burly career criminal, the figure I found was small, almost dainty. They turned, and to my horror, I saw it was my ex. In her hand was one of my mom's kitchen knives, the huge stainless steel one that she always kept extra sharp. She told me how good it was to see me again, but stopped when she saw the look in my face, asking me why I was so scared to see her. Apparently, she only had a knife to defend herself against any other girls that were there. But when I told her there were none, she turned the knife on me. Long story short, the cops arrived in time to arrest her before an ambulance took me to the hospital. I needed 153 stitches to wounds on my arms and face. Yes, 153. It took over an hour to get everything sewn up while they gave me a blood transfusion from the lost. Moral of the story: don't meet people you find on the internet. It's that simple. You can never, ever really know someone unless you have talked face to face. At least, that's what I found from hard experience. I actually met the girl who turned my life upside down twice before she became my stalker. A friend and I had wandered down to a local chain pub on a summer's day to watch football. You know, the kind that attracts 30-something singles with cheap cocktail offers while still masquerading as a sports bar. Our team lost, so we stayed an hour or so after full time to drink away the disappointment. That's the first time we met. She recognized me as being on the same dating website as her and so introduced herself. She seemed charming enough, and we enjoyed each other's skewering commentary on the fickleness and desperation of online dating. There was absolutely nothing to give me a clue as to her true character. No 1,000-yard stare, no deranged cackling to tip me off that she was any way mentally unbalanced. We swapped phone numbers and arranged to see each other over drinks the following week. The second time we met was just as delightful as the first. We each found it deeply amusing that we'd invested so much time in Tinder and dating sites only to meet by happenstance in the flesh. She seemed to really like me, which I must confess was as flattering as it was refreshing. We hit it off in a big way, and at the end of the night, I asked if she wanted to come back to my place for coffee. We slept together, and it was incredible. But then, having known me for all of a few hours, she told me that she loved me. It came as sort of a shock, but I laughed it off back then. Only I really shouldn't have. From the moment Glenn Close boiled her first bunny, popular culture has been fascinated with the female stalker. As with most, if not all, cinematic archetypes, they become an object of humor. They became funny, adorable, misguided cranks, deluded but charmingly harmless. Women stalking men was such an absurd concept that it didn't take long to become overtly comical. But I have to admit that I haven't found much of the last 3 years particularly amusing, as my stalker ended up comprehensively boiling my inner bunny. Although it was funny in the first few months when she chased me down the street on foot as I cycled home from work, I had fun sharing her voicemails with friends, her whiny, immature tone causing us to crack up. The fact a grown woman could make herself sound like a toddler was genuinely hilarious, but the joke wore very thin very fast. It stopped being funny when she threatened to counter-allege that I had drugged her and assaulted her if I went to the police with a complaint. It also wasn't especially amusing when she did exactly that, then posted extensively on social media detailing the night I apparently abused her. I only found out she did that because she tagged me in the bloody post. My friends list halved overnight, my inbox filled with hate and bile-filled messages from total strangers. But the ones that hurt the most were from friends and relatives. I couldn't believe they'd taken the word of someone they'd never met over mine. Even the ones that offered a little comfort implied that if you're guilty, then fair enough, you should be punished. It was like they ignored every word I'd said about being completely innocent of the accusation. Long before the days of #MeToo, it was downright infuriating when I found that, while she immediately got free legal advice and counseling as a result of the nature of her fabrications, I was left to my own devices for 5 long months with the allegations hanging over my head. By the time I was cleared, I was a depressed, borderline alcoholic, insomniac, terrified of his own doorbell. Not very funny. I even had male police officers laugh at her loopy voicemails, only this time, I wasn't laughing like I'd done with my friends. I don't blame them though, in fact, I get it. Most people in my experience cannot help but find the idea of a man living in fear of an obsessed female stalker faintly amusing. I had one girlfriend, now an ex, tell me that I had to man up, as if I could somehow puff my chest out and produce the magical instant cure to mend a profoundly disturbed woman. As if any forceful action on my part wouldn't end up with me in even more trouble with the police. The reality of being a stalked man is a mixture of grinding tedium, of disturbed sleep, violent nightmares, and isolation. Your first instincts may well be to attempt dialogue with your apparent stalker, but eventually you come to realize that you may as well be trying to bring reason to a small child. Attention is something they crave, so any instance where you actually do acknowledge them, even if it's begging to leave you alone, is seen as a kind of admission that you want to talk or see them. And above all, it becomes apparent that it's down to you to create your own case. So your life becomes one of logging missed calls, taping voicemails, transcribing texts, and having a camera phone ready to record every time you enter the door. Visits to the police station are frequent and time-consuming. Being stalked is a massive pain. One day in the future, I hope to God that I may be able to laugh about it all. But the current reality is that my stalker forced me out of the home I had lived in for 5 years, left me with deep trust and anger issues, and nursing post-traumatic stress disorder, which will only subside as I put time and distance between me and her. And I have to pin my hopes on the notion that when I agreed to her being merely cautioned for harassment on the basis that she agreed never to try to contact me again, she was telling the truth. It feels like I might be asking for a little too much from someone so awfully disturbed. This was way back in the summer of 2010, and you might be relieved to hear that I have not heard from nor seen her since. I've received messages telling me how rare it is to read admissions of this kind because everyone else who has tried found the process too upsetting. People have asked if I'm worried that it will provoke her into fresh activity, and that question, I must admit, does make me laugh, because there is nothing left that she can do to me.
I cover a lot of terrifying topics here on the channel, but some of the scariest moments for myself have to include cybersecurity. With so many things to focus on, I've decided to place the stress of that burden on NordVPN. NordVPN is a virtual private network that routes all your internet traffic through a remote server run by the service, this way hiding your IP address, your digital fingerprint, and using military-grade encryption on all incoming and outgoing data, keeping you secure online. Now, running this channel and generally existing on the internet has taught me a lot about protecting myself, especially with a few security scares occurring just in the past couple of years related to the channel. NordVPN's Chrome browser plugin has heavily reduced the anxiety I've formed from that past. It's lightweight and user-friendly from the first click, instantly securing my browsing in seconds. I've had issues in the past with protecting my information, and since joining NordVPN, that fear has all been wiped away. My personal favorite is their support on Android and iOS devices, with apps to secure your mobile browsing experience. When I'm on the go, the fear of securing my information within areas like airports and unprotected Wi-Fi networks has left me apprehensive, but NordVPN's mobile app encrypts your nomadic self, along with 24/7 customer support and live chat. For a limited time, get 70% off a 3-year plan at nordvpn.com/letsread. This special offer makes your subscription just $3.49 per month, so you can browse securely on all your devices, and for a short time, use code LETSREAD to get an extra month of Nord for free. Check the description to be linked directly there.
My name is Bob Coftree. I'm a 54-year-old driving instructor from Lancashire in the UK. Previously to my career as a driving instructor, I spent many years as part of a training team in the Royal Air Force. My time in the military taught me patience and discipline, which really helped with my transition into the civilian workforce. I'd spent time in conflict zones around the world, sometimes in some pretty harrowing conditions, but nothing prepared me for the ordeal that would turn my entire life upside down. One morning I received a call from a woman who wished to book some driving and theory lessons. Donna Hartley seemed to be a shy but affable young woman with deep red hair and small brown eyes. Her meek manner meant she found the experience rather stressful, but I pride myself on being able to effectively turn such people into confident, competent drivers. Thanks to my tutoring, it took her just 6 weeks to pass both practical and theory tests. Naturally, she was elated, as was I. I've always loved the sense of achievement that comes from having trained or coached someone successfully. It doesn't just mean that you've done your job correctly, but now someone else can advance their own lives thanks to the skills you've taught them. The fact I've always found a way to earn money that way has been one of the blessings in my life. Usually speaking, passing a driving test means the world to someone, especially when they require the transport to further their own careers. This means they usually thank me with more than just the monetary compensation for their lessons. A bottle of wine or whiskey with a sticker ribbon and a little thank you note usually arrives at my home address within a week or two of them earning their license. Donna Hartley told me she was a supervisor for an air conditioning company and therefore needed to travel a fair bit to attend sales conferences. So, obviously, she was particularly grateful, sending a thank you gift along with a few text messages expressing her gratitude. Now, usually everyone remains professional, and we go our separate ways, but not Miss Hartley. She continued to send me thank you texts long after lessons and tests were completed, usually something along the lines of, "I'd like to thank you again for helping me pass. Would you like to go for a drink or something to eat?" This was rather flattering, but I'm a happily married man, so I simply opted to politely decline before ignoring any follow-up messages. But the texts didn't stop coming, and each one was more awkward than the last. At one point, she sent me a message that just said, "Part of me wishes I hadn't passed my test because I would have got to spend more time with you." I couldn't bring myself to reply, but the messages kept coming, almost non-stop. And what's more, over time they grew darker and darker. Donna kept texting, calling, and visiting my Lancashire home. She asked me to meet and hug me. One text read, "I don't want to hurt you, but you can hurt me." When it became evident to her that I was ignoring her messages, she threatened to hurt herself if I didn't reply. And this was the final straw. I immediately contacted the local police and informed them that she was both a threat to me and apparently herself as well. They subsequently visited Donna at home, but when I spoke to one of the officers, they said that Donna had made a counterclaim that she was simply frustrated that her driver instructor was ignoring her. She must have played the part of a poor-treated customer because, from then on, the police seemed content to treat the case as some kind of business disagreement, which obviously was not the case. Frankly, I feel the Lancashire police utterly failed to deal with the situation in a timely manner. Even after they visited Donna at home, her stalking didn't abate. She wasn't just texting at all hours of the day now, she was calling. The calls came mostly at night, so it wasn't an issue just to turn off my phone. But each morning when I switched it on, I dreaded the inevitable barrage of voicemails. There were 15 or 16 sometimes, but I couldn't bear to listen to a single one. Again, I contacted the police, but to my utter disbelief, they actually told me there was nothing they could do. Donna had not made direct contact with me, and therefore it was still down to me to have my mobile carrier block her number. I can't state how terrible it felt to be a grown man, yet to feel that kind of vulnerability. I couldn't sleep at night. I was missing work because I hadn't had any sleep. All I could think was, one evening, I'm just going to get out of the car, she's going to be there, and that'll be it. At one point, I was at home during the weekend, alone, when I began to hear some incredibly loud music from outside in the street. It was irritating, but I just assumed it was teenagers and they'd cleared off after a while. But then my phone buzzed on a countertop with a text message from an unknown number. "Follow the music," it read. Confused, I headed to the front door, wandering out into the street with my phone in hand. There, parked around 50 feet away, was a silver Nissan, blasting some sickly romantic music from open windows. I didn't need to see that streak of red hair in the driver's seat to know who it was. When Donna turned and smiled out of the window at me, I turned and rushed back into my home, locking the doors and windows before calling the police. But yet again, Donna seemed to get away with little more than a warning. A few days later, I was again at home alone when she texted me from yet another unknown number telling me she was outside. She said she wanted to talk, that she'd followed me home, and would keep doing so until I finally gave in and talked to her. She rang my doorbell repeatedly, banging on the door. She then phoned me 8 times while she was outside, ranting and raving about me having the nerve to treat her that way. I phoned the police again, and within a few minutes a police car arrived, and they arrested her on suspicion of harassment. Finally, they had done their bloody job and taken that mad woman away. She was given a suspended prison sentence and a restraining order banning her from going anywhere near my home or making any form of contact with me. I later discovered that Donna had told her psychiatrist that she wanted to hold me hostage, torture me with a knife, before ending me. I went stone cold when I was told. I knew I was right to be afraid. It was suffocating. The whole ordeal had a long-lasting impact on me. It completely changed my life. It's changed how I feel about people. It's changed my relationship with my wife. I've had to uproot my entire lifestyle as a way of defending myself against Donna. But the worst thing is that no one really takes you seriously about it, because you're a man dealing with an obsessive woman. There's a kind of locker room culture to it, like, oh, it's because you're such a stud, you should be flattered to be paid that kind of attention. Some people might think it's harmless, just a woman that's just giving you some attention. It's not, because the attention is unwanted, the attention is unsolicited, and it was never reciprocated. I'm very cautious now, always looking around me when I go outside. I don't feel safe. What will it take for Donna to be jailed? She ruined my life and showed me no regard for the first sentence. It makes a farce of the whole justice system. My name's Jackie. I wound up in Arizona after a road trip from Florida, looking for, I guess, love. I was following the number 33. I used to wake up every day and every night at 3:33, so I kept following the number and I asked, why, self, why? Why am I following the number 33? So I spoke to a psychic and she told me I have the same birth chart as Jesus. So then I said, okay, I'll look up Jesus, who was 33 when he came to be. My left eye axis is 33. The location I came from in Miami was 33111, the zip code. I met a guy online. I was looking for my healing angel. The psychic I had met told me I would meet a healing angel. So I was in Utah, Mount Zion, looking for my healing angel. I was at a bar, and I was talking to the bartender about the number 3. So I told him the story of how I came to be in Utah, the story of the number 3. He said, not to say anything, but look behind you. So I look behind me and there's this giant number 3. I was like, are you my healing angel? And he was like, no, I'm not. And then I was like, okay, but maybe you're the one who's going to lead me to my healing angel. So he said, maybe you should go to Sedona, Arizona, which I had never even heard of. So I look up Sedona, Arizona, and find it's the 33rd most spiritual place on Earth. So I cancel my road trip, I cancel my trip to Mount Zion, and I decide to go to Arizona. I had never been there. So Isaac, my healing angel, texted me and he says, have you ever been to Arizona? And I was like, this is really weird, I just decided to go there. So I said, I'm not going to meet him unless God throws it in my face. So we start talking and I'm like, I'm not going to go there. Then he told me that he has the same birthday as me. So I was like, okay, I have to go meet him, because I told God that's what I have to do. So I go meet him. We have the same birthday. Our brothers are both named Jacob and David. Our fathers are both Egyptian Jews from Cairo. We're both vegetarians. And then I find out he does stuff with the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea has 33% salt in it. Walt Disney's club is called Club 33. The reason they're called this is because the location of Atlantis is inside the Earth. The coordinates are 3333. It's the soul of the Earth. A lot of the people have been asking me if I broke into my healing angel's home. I'd rather not talk about those things. I met him using the online dating site Luxy. It's the shallowest website ever where the rich men meet the pretty girls. People said I messaged him some pretty weird stuff, but I'd rather not talk about those things either. People said I texted them 65,000 times. To me, it seemed like more, but I don't deny that. It helped me gain all the information I needed to. Loving him selflessly brought this information because everyone just wants to take. But if you just give and you don't stop giving, even if you don't receive, you all of a sudden receive a lot. We went on 3 dates. I felt like I'd met my soulmate. Everything was just the way it was, and I thought we would just do what everybody else does, and we would just, get married, and everything would be fine. But that's not what happened. People have said that texting him 65,000 times was excessive, but love is an excessive thing. I get why people think I'm a little bit out there, but I'm not a crazy person. I'm the person that discovered love, the equation to light. Einstein discovered that the equation for light is E equals mc squared. To finish that equation, everything we see or touch is made out of light and the composition of the light that it's made of. A lot of people have said that my messages sometimes didn't sound loving, that sometimes they sounded threatening. But when you're finding love, not everything is perfect. This one was a real journey, and I want to apologize because no one could ever be more sorry. I would never have hurt him. I love him. So the rest of the equation is L equals 3.33, L equals 3.33 times E equals mc squared, and that's the equation of eternal love. It means one boy thing and one girl thing. The boy is the light that makes the love work really hard. We as women are supposed to worship the men, and they're supposed to lead us to where we're supposed to go. When instead we all believe in the number 0. The number 0 is a belief system that the Illuminati created to create the undertaking of all humankind. This is important for me to tell you this because I have to share the message of love. That everybody has to love each other. My healing angel is not a victim. I want him to know that I love him, that if he really wants me to, I'll leave him alone. People ask me about that over and over again, but I tell them they have negative energy and I don't want to talk to them anymore. There's no need to be negative when everyone should just be nice. I only want to be nice. On the dollar bill it says, she refers her undertaking New World Order in Latin, and the pyramid represents slavery while the third eye is the imagination. So everybody is essentially a Jew, and that's what the imagination is. The pyramid is how we were enslaved, so we've been enslaved by money. We enslave each other, a self-perpetuating cycle of enslaving each other and taking from each other and being selfish. In the past, if I've said something bad, I apologize. I want everyone else to be nice. I want all of you to be nice. If Isaac wants me to go to jail, I should be in jail. I appreciate that because I love him and I should know better. He is the light and I am the love. He knows what to do. I don't mind being in jail because I like everything and everyone. If I was released today, I would leave him alone. If he asked me to, I would. But I know I need to go back home and spread the message there too. I wish Isaac had been nicer to me, but he was the meanest person I'd ever met. It's hard that we're soulmates, but he's so mean to me. There's one boy and one girl, one boy thing and one girl thing, and it equals 3.33. Instead of having the number 0, we're supposed to count to 3.3. 1, 2, 3.3. 3.3 is infinity. So if we counted from one boy thing to one girl thing, it would equal forever, just like the universe and all the planets. Police arrested 33-year-old Jackie Ades last April as she took a bath in the man's home while he was out of the country. She allegedly took her 2 dogs, food, and a bottle of wine with her, along with an 8-inch butcher knife that was found in the front passenger seat of a Mercedes-Benz parked outside the home. Addie's Journey requested a hearing in January to evaluate the woman's mental competency and to determine whether she could assist in her own defense. She was deemed mentally incompetent but restorable last month by 2 of 3 mental health officials. Addie's had pleaded not guilty to charges of stalking and criminal trespassing. Leathers said she could have ended her incarceration months ago by accepting a plea deal, but that would have imposed a 10-year ban from contacting the man she allegedly barraged with texts. Addie's insists jurors will not only find her not guilty, but they also order that she and her alleged victim get married. What you just read above was her letter from in jail. Whether or not you're a fan, no one can deny the monumental rise of Korean pop music over the past few years. Modern K-pop culture began with the boy band HOT in 1996, as K-pop grew into a subculture that amassed enormous fandoms of teenagers and young adults. With the advent of online social networking services, K-pop has gained a widespread audience all over the world, but the immense popularity of the genre has given rise to a new kind of obsessive fan, known as a sasang. The term sasang comes from the Korean word sa, meaning private, and sang, meaning life, in reference to the fans' intrusion into celebrities' private lives. Sasang fans are often described as being female, aged from 16 to 25, and driven to commit borderline criminal acts in order to gain attention from their favorite celebrities. Examples have included seeking out celebrities at their apartment or house, stealing their personal belongings or information, harassing family members, and even sending their idols inappropriate gifts. Many sasang fans are motivated by a desire to gain recognition from their idols and stand out from other, lesser fans. One sasang fan interviewed gave an explanation for this obsessive behavior. "I feel like I get to know more about and get closer to the idol I love. If I go to a concert, there are thousands of people attending, so the idol would not know who I am. But if I become sasang, they will recognize me. If I keep telling them, I am so-and-so, I saw you at that place before, I am so-and-so, they will start to take note of me and ask, did you come again today? To Sasang fans, being recognized by idols is a good thing. This burning desire for individual recognition from their favorite idols has been the root cause of some infamous Sasang acts. Physical assault is one perceived way of being remembered. In 2012, a Sasang fan repeatedly slapped Yu Chun of the boy group JYJ, justifying the assault by claiming that the idol would definitely remember her from then on. Sasangs have also used social media to form a network of contacts to help spread and share information. The Sasang's activity is also extremely competitive. The Sasang who can get the closest to an idol, or who can acquire privileged information that no one else has, gains greater respect among other Sasang for their commitment. It has been noted that Sasang fans will try to get jobs in industries so that they're closer either to their idols or to information concerning them. Sasang target employers such as airlines, phone companies, and credit card distributors. In 2017, Brave Entertainment, home of solo artist Samuel, dismissed 2 staff members for Sasang behavior that included following other artists and communicating personal information about Samuel in return for cash from other Sasang. There are also so-called Sasang taxis. These are cab drivers who offer to drive Sasang fans around, following their idols to their scheduled activities or personal appointments. Such taxis charge an average of $600 a day and will follow an idol or group for the entirety as long as a fan wishes, sometimes exceeding speed limits and breaking other traffic rules. Drivers of such taxis may wait outside venues for customers wishing to follow their idols as they leave whatever venue they've been performing in. Such methods, costly in terms of both time and money, have resulted in Sasang fans missing or dropping out of school, sleeping in internet cafes, or turning to selling their bodies to cover the expensive costs of their Sasang-related activities. The Korean media has reported that Sasang fans are often people who begin as regular fans, but go on to obsessively devote their personal and social lives to the quest of standing out, or become closer to an idol or celebrity. The portrayal of such behavior in the media often attaches fear and stigma to selectively represented actions identified as problematic, including the aforementioned acts of missing school and sleeping in internet cafes to meet with idols. Typical media reports of Sasang behavior focus on an instance or instances of socially disruptive fan activity and include criticism from sources including average fans, industry representatives, and other figures whose social standing lends moral weight to the negative coverage. One such case involves a Korean girl who committed acts of fraud by selling exclusive items that she never intended to send. Her reasoning was that she needed the money to continue her obsessive but expensive activities. Fans of K-pop are often quick to point out the differences between regular fandom and behavior said to characterize a Sasang fan. A Sasang fan's identity is often represented in mass and social media using terms that carry negative connotations and express extremes, such as crazed, abnormal, psychotic, or disturbing. Back in November of 2009, a Sasang fan of boy band 2PM posted writing in what appeared to be blood, later confirmed to be menstrual blood, as proof of her complete adulation for the group. This worryingly obsessive behavior toward the celebrity led to criticism of her actions, including from other 2PM fans and the band itself. Just 2 months later, an obsessive fan of MBLAQ's Lee Jun wrote and posted a message written in blood on social media. The message read, "Don't forget me, Lee Chang-sun. I only have you. I love you." She cited the 2PM blood writing incident as impetus and motive for her act, writing in her caption, "What was that 2PM's fan blood writing? Period blood is so gross. I'll show what blood writing is." Not long after, in January 2010, an obsessive fan of the group Wonder Girls reacted very, very badly to the news that the group was on hiatus. She cut her wrist and used her own blood to write, "Please come back, Wonder Girls." She posted the picture of her face half covered by her hand, showed the blood writing and the scar on her wrist. The actions of Sasang fans are reported to have a devastating psychological impact on their idols. A young member of the boy band EXO said in an interview that he had developed a victim mentality due to Sasangs, and that it had severely affected his public appearances and activities. In 2016, Hetchel of Super Junior described intense feelings of paranoia and the crippling trauma that the actions of certain Sasang fans had caused him. With the increased use of social media, idols must be more cautious than ever in order to prevent private information from reaching the public, both Sasang and other fans. On the TV show Handsome Boys of the 20th Century, first-generation singers of the band HOT also admitted to paranoid feelings whenever they left their homes. One singer stated that he developed an addiction to video games, as he would stay at home out of fear of being accosted by crowds of fans. It is clear that the culture surrounding K-pop acts is extremely intense, as has always occurred when young women begin to adore a certain celebrity. From Elvis and the Beatles to NSYNC and Justin Bieber, there will always be sections of society who develop dangerous obsessions with revered celebrities. Born in 1972 in Quebec, Genevieve Sabarin is an actress who mostly worked on low-budget commercials in her native Canada. But the actress also had smaller roles in movies like Swindle, Eternal, and even Eddie Murphy's Pluto Nash from 2002. But Miss Sabarin is perhaps most famous for something considerably more sinister. Sabarin was a unit publicist for the ill-conceived sci-fi comedy Pluto Nash, starring Eddie Murphy, in which actor Alec Baldwin made an uncredited cameo appearance as the character MZM. The two then attended a private dinner meeting almost a decade later in 2010. Baldwin was working in Montreal, shooting his latest movie, when he was asked by a friend to meet with Miss Sabarin. He claimed that the meeting was simply to give Miss Sabarin career advice, but she later asserted the pair then drove to a nearby hotel where they'd engage in intimate relations. In the aftermath of the so-called business meeting, Miss Sabarin is then alleged to have later bombarded Alec Baldwin with phone calls and emails, in most of which she attempted to urge Baldwin to leave his wife for her, before planning a Caribbean wedding. She turned up at his home unsolicited on multiple occasions, once at his New York City apartment, another at his home in Long Island. She also made a surprise visit to an event Baldwin was part of at the local Lincoln Center in another apparently attempt to communicate with him. She has previously claimed via a lawyer that she was only ever attempting to determine face-to-face whether her amorous feelings for Mr. Baldwin were shared by him. "I found myself in love with Mr. Baldwin very fast," she said. "He reached my heart in a very deep sense. He promised me the night of my life. He was a charmer." She said the actor also made it explicitly clear that he was in love with her too. "I am naive or stupid, but I don't know, I believed him," she later claimed. "He called me every single day, and as time went on, it became more and more personal," the besotted actress said. "He would call me later and later, and the conversation would go longer and longer." In April 2012, Sabarin was finally arrested for stalking after sending Mr. Baldwin's wife abusive messages via social media. She turned up at Baldwin's apartment in Greenwich Village with her dog and belongings on the day the actor had proposed to his wife, and was quickly apprehended by police after a complaint was filed. Baldwin would go on to describe Sabarin's appearances at his house and a movie screening as like something out of a Hitchcock movie. Her apparently intimate knowledge of his whereabouts must have been highly disturbing. During the trial, Miss Sabarin would repeatedly jeer or heckle Baldwin as he testified before the court. At one point, she shouted out the word liar when he repeatedly denied the pair had been intimate together. Sabarin later shouted that she had proof that they had slept together. Her knowledge of a scar on Baldwin's hip. "You have a scar," she yelled. "Why are you lying about me?" Sabarin also interrupted her own lawyer time and time again as he was fighting for her favor and complained that the press had vilified her. "This is a complete and utter miscarriage of justice," she said. "Everybody has used their force on me. It's ruined my life. I can't even get a job as a waitress now." On the stand, Baldwin said Sabarin had made him fear for his own safety, and that she ruined his proposal to his then-fiancée, Hilaria, a Spanish yoga instructor. While recounting all of this, he said, "I ran to tell my wife not to go near the door because I wasn't sure if she had a gun or a weapon or where we were at this point, and then I called the East Hampton police." At this point, the emotional stress of the proceedings were evidently beginning to have severe effect on Baldwin. While testifying, his eyes began to redden and he began to cry. Again, Sabarin, as if live tweeting from her seat, shouted, "Why is he crying? He has nothing to cry about. He's not the victim here." Baldwin said that on an average day he would get 20, 30, or sometimes 50 voicemails from Sabarin, some featuring her crying, some laughing, with a grand total numbering in the thousands. As Baldwin shared this shocking information with the court, Sabarin reportedly shouted, "No," and "Are you crazy?" until the judge ordered her to be silent. Mr. Baldwin's wife, Hilaria, also took the stand and spoke about her fear of Sabarin, revealing that she had been forced to radically change her yoga teaching schedule after Sabarin confronted her on the street. Hilaria also told the court that Sabarin had tweeted frequently under her handle, Scarface Madam. Sabarin, according to Baldwin, was reportedly the on-and-off mistress of Scarface producer Martin Bregman. She told the court that Miss Sabarin relentlessly harassed her in increasingly threatening ways, even during her pregnancy. She cited a tweet from Sabarin that stated she hoped Hilaria would have a miscarriage. "This feels like there's nothing we can do to make this stop. I'm terrified of her," she told jurors during an emotional account of the ordeal. At one point, as a direct result of all her interruptions, Genevieve Sabarin was escorted out of the courtroom by her lawyer and bailiffs after the judge threatened to hold her in contempt of court. Tensions remained high for the entire trial. At one point, when Mr. Baldwin left the courtroom, he told a nuisance reporter he recognized, "I hope you choke to death, you miserable scumbag." On the 14th of November 2013, Sabarin was convicted on 5 counts of harassment and sentenced to 210 days in prison. The judge sentenced Sabarin to an extra 30 days imprisonment because she had disrupted the trial proceedings over and over again and thus failed to give due respect to the court. Miss Sabarin cried in court as a Manhattan judge sentenced her to 7 months in prison for stalking Baldwin. Judge Thomas Mandelbaum said Sabarin had engaged in a relentless and escalating campaign of threats that showed an utter lack of respect for the law. The Canadian actress was found guilty of attempting aggravated harassment, attempted contempt of court, and stalking. Sabarin was taken away in handcuffs and told she would be fined $250 should she contact Baldwin or his family over the next 5 years. Shirley Jane Turner was born on January 28, 1961. Daughter of an American serviceman and a Canadian woman he'd met while on leave, Turner and her 3 siblings were raised in Wichita, Kansas. Yet after their parents' separation, Turner moved with her mother to her native Newfoundland, where she attained Canadian citizenship. Shirley was a bright student and after achieving excellent high school grades enrolled at Memorial University of Newfoundland in St. John's, seeking to embark on a medical career. In early 1999, Shirley Turner began dating a man by the name of Andrew David Bagby, an American medical student in his 3rd year of study at Memorial University. Bagby hailed from California, the son of a British immigrant and the U.S. Navy veteran turned computer engineer. Turner and Bagby must have found themselves with a great deal in common, their childhoods bearing all the same hallmarks of military brats who constantly moved and therefore struggled with interpersonal relationships in their formative years. In August of the year 2000, Turner moved to Sac City, Iowa, to begin a lucrative new job working for the Trimark Physicians Corporation. Meanwhile, after graduating from Memorial University in May of the same year, Bagby landed a surgical residency in Syracuse, New York. Despite the distance between them, he and Turner initially seemed committed to maintaining a long-distance relationship, with a view to reuniting in the future. According to Turner's own account, she visited Bagby's residence in Syracuse more than 7 times, while he only bothered to visit her once during her time in Sac City. She wrote that this caused her some distress and led her to believe he was becoming disinterested. The following year, Turner obtained a permit to buy a firearm and later purchased a .22 handgun along with ammunition, which she used during subsequent shooting lessons. Around the same time, Turner began displaying increasingly possessive behavior towards Bagby, frequently harassing him over the phone and by email. In October of 2001, Turner broke the news to Bagby that she was 3 months pregnant. Stunned, he agreed to talk with her about the baby during a family event that he was scheduled to attend in nearby Latrobe, PA. During the visit, despite the news of the apparent pregnancy, Bagby and Turner's relationship began to drastically deteriorate. Although Bagby seemed to be open to the idea of starting a family, the couple argued over Bagby's admission that he had been casually seeing another woman. It is believed that around this time, Turner had finished the last of her firearms lessons. Just a month later, Turner visited Bagby in Pennsylvania and confessed that she had been lying about her pregnancy in an effort to trick Bagby into staying in a relationship with her. Furious about this, he immediately drove Turner to the Arnold Palmer Regional Airport and ended the relationship before sending her back to Iowa on a last-minute book-in. But Turner had a dark past. 3 years before she and Bagby had met, Turner began a relationship with a fellow Canadian who was 13 years younger than her. After the man broke up with Turner and relocated, she plagued him with angry phone calls. Turner then confronted the man in Halifax and a violent confrontation began. According to police reports, Turner had slapped the man repeatedly before he attempted to defend himself by pushing her away. Turner retaliated by taking off her high-heel shoe and striking the man in the jaw so hard it caused a fracture. Fearing for his life, the man consulted his parents before emigrating to the Midwestern U.S. in an attempt to evade her. But to his horror, Turner followed and found him, leaving threatening voicemails and stalking the man over the following year. Turner began making frequent visits to Pennsylvania, arriving unannounced at the ex-boyfriend's apartment. On more than one occasion, he called on state troopers to convince her to leave, claiming she had threatened his safety. Then, on April 7, 1999, the ex-boyfriend found Turner lying semi-conscious outside of his apartment complex. She had taken an overdose of over-the-counter drugs. Turner was wearing a black dress and carried a bouquet of red roses and 2 notes on her person. One was addressed to the man and the other to her psychiatrist. The latter read, "I am not evil, just sick." Turner was rushed to a hospital where her stomach was pumped and she survived. However, the very next day, the ex-boyfriend found a voicemail left by a female caller who said something along the lines of, "We're terribly sorry to inform you that Dr. Turner passed away last night." This was later confirmed to be a faked call from Turner herself. 2.5 years later, Andrew Bagby must have had no idea how much danger he was in. On the 4th of November 2001, Turner made a total of 3 phone calls to Bagby's residence in Latrobe. What they spoke of is unclear, but at approximately 1 p.m., Turner embarked on a 16-hour, 1,000-mile drive to Pennsylvania, complete with her .22 pistol. In the early hours of the following morning, she confronted Bagby at his residence, located across the street from the medical clinic he was employed by. He later arrived at work in an agitated state and told a colleague of her appearance, but dismissed his advice to not meet with her in private. Bagby subsequently promised to call that same colleague after meeting Turner later that evening, but he never showed up. Turner later drove home and left a message on Bagby's answering machine. The following morning, Bagby was found in a day-use parking lot at Keystone State Park in Derry Township, Pennsylvania. He had been shot 5 times in the face, the chest, and buttocks with .22 bullets. Acting on statements from Bagby's colleagues regarding his meeting with Turner, the Pennsylvania State Police contacted her for questioning. Despite her claim to have been in bed sick on November 5th, cell phone and internet records clearly showed that she had made a cross-country call both to and from Latrobe, accessed eBay and Hotmail from Bagby's home computer, and used his home phone to inform her employees of a brief absence due to sickness. When confronted with this evidence, Turner claimed that she met with Bagby at Keystone State Park, but that he put the gun in his trunk. Turner alternately told her shooting instructor that her gun had been stolen. Investigators interviewed Turner's shooting instructor, who explained that her handgun was faulty and had ejected live rounds during some of her lessons. This was consistent with an unspent round recovered near Bagby's body. Later, a hiker traveling through the park reported seeing Bagby's Toyota Corolla parked next to Turner's own vehicle, just 10 minutes after Bagby made his last phone call to Simpson. The residents later saw the Corolla parked alone the following morning. The lot number on a box of condoms found in Turner's Council Bluffs apartment matched a box purchased by Bagby and Latrobe on the night of the breakup. Also in Turner's apartment were MapQuest printouts for road directions to Latrobe. Despite the evidence gathered, Turner had fled the country by the time authorities obtained a warrant for her arrest. But to her horror, upon arrival in Canada, she discovered that she was in fact pregnant with Andrew Bagby's child. On Independence Day 2003, Shirley Turner met a young man at a bar in St. John's. The pair dated and were intimate on 2 occasions afterwards. The man broke off the relationship after learning from friends about Turner's connection to Bagby's murder. Turner subsequently made a total of 200 threatening phone calls to the man over the following month. Turner claimed to have gotten pregnant by the man, but no evidence was ever found showing this to be the case. The man contacted the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary on 3 occasions to complain about Turner's harassment, which violated the terms of her bail and would have been grounds to lose custody of her son Zachary. Because the man did not identify himself and declined to file any criminal complaint against Turner, no investigation was launched by the RNC. When an RNC constable contacted Turner's lawyer about the harassment, Turner denied the allegations. On August 18, 2003, Turner purchased multiple packets of sleeping pills from a St. John's pharmacy. She then drove with Zachary to nearby Conception Bay South, where her former boyfriend lived. There, Turner parked her car near his house and left photographs of herself and Zachary, as well as a used tampon on the front seat. Police concluded that she was attempting to frame the boyfriend for the impending murder-suicide. After spiking Zachary's baby formula with Ativan and ingesting it herself, Turner strapped the infant to her chest and jumped off a fishing wharf into the Atlantic Ocean. Both drowned. She had no intention of losing custody to Bagby's parents. It was determined that Zachary Turner was rendered unconscious by the Ativan and did not suffer. Hey friends, thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell to be alerted of all future narrations. If you got a story, be sure to submit them to my subreddit, r/letsreadofficial, and give and receive feedback from the community, and maybe even hear your story featured on the next video. And join my Discord to interact with me and other listeners directly. And if you want to support me even more, grab early access to all future narrations for just $1 a month on Patreon, and maybe even pick up some Let's Read merch on Spreadshirt. And check out the Let's Read podcast, where you can hear all these stories in long compilation form and save huge on data, located on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Links in the bio. Thanks so much, friends, and please, don't sasang me.